Welcome into Chat Sports' 2019 March Madness NCAA Tournament Bracket Reveal Show. I am James Yoder. Joining me on this side is my boy Mitchell Renz. We're going to bring you all 68 teams, talk about the last four in, and then talk about maybe Mitch who was left out there, look at the number one seeds, and make our final four predictions. Let's get right into it. The East region, which includes and is featuring the number one overall seed, the Duke Blue Devils. Mitchell Renz 29-5 in the year. They will face the winner of that number 16 playing game. Then we've got VCU UCF at the 8 versus number 9. Mississippi State versus Liberty at the 5 versus 12. Mitch, we talked about this right before we went on the show. 16 wins in the last 10 years. So basically 1.5 a year wins by a number 12 seed over a number 5. 16-24 is the record of the number 12 seed versus the 5. That is a high probability of upset in this one. Virginia Tech and St. Louis, those games being played in Columbia, South Carolina, and San Jose, California. Anything that sticks out to you with these first 8 teams?
I'm just excited to watch Duke, and anytime I can watch Barrett or Zion Williamson get on the court together, absolutely dominant there, both of those teams. But if there's one upset that I'm looking at, Liberty over Mississippi State. I like that matchup a lot. I'm always the guy that takes that 12 over the 5. And in the East region, James, I'm telling you right now, Liberty is going to take down Mississippi State.
All right, let's take a look at the bottom half of the bracket. Mitch, sitting down there at the bottom. Michigan State is the number 2 seed in that bracket. Their face Bradley, kicking it back to the top. LSU versus Yale, who beat Harvard in the Ivy League championship. Then you've got Maryland out of the Big Ten. The number 11 game, they'll face the winner of that, Belmont Temple, which is the play-in game in the East region. Then you got Louisville versus Minnesota. A little Pitino action. Maybe Rick comes out of retirement, helps his son take on the school that let him go, where he won a national championship in 2013. That was vacated. Those games being played in Jacksonville, Florida, and Des Moines, Iowa. That is your East region in the 2019 NCAA Tournament. Let's kick it next to the South region here on Chat Sports' 2019 March Madness Bracket Reveal. Number 1 seed Virginia going to take on Gardner-Webb in the opener in Columbia, South Carolina. Ole Miss versus Oklahoma, a little SEC Big 12 8-9 matchup. The winner likely to play Virginia, although we all remember last year, Mitch, UMBC beating Virginia that 16-1 game, so nothing is assured. A little Rose Bowl style action towards the bottom of the bracket. Number 5 Wisconsin versus number 12 Oregon, who won the Pac-12, and then Kansas State, regular season champions in the Big 12, versus UC Irvine in the 4 versus 13 matchup out there in San Jose, California. Take a look at the rest of the bracket. I'll start at the bottom with Tennessee, the number 2 seed. They got crushed versus Auburn in the SEC championship game, but they will take on Colgate 2 versus 15, Cincinnati versus Iowa, and then kicking back up to the top, Purdue and Old Dominion in the 3 versus 14, and then last year's national champion, 2 of the last 3 national championships for Villanova. They're the number 6 seed. They will take on St. Mary's. That is your South region. Mitchell, any reactions in the South region?
Yeah, I'm looking at Purdue. I think if Purdue, out of all the 3 seeds that I'm looking at through this bracket, I think Purdue could be the 1-3 seed to lose to the 14 seed Old Dominion. The last 14 seed to win was back in 2016, and I'm looking at this bracket, and the South region to me, James, seems, I'm just going to say, a little bit weak. Tennessee, my favorite to come out of the South region, but what do I know? Could see Villanova back-to-back. I don't know. It'd be pretty interesting to me.
I think the South is kind of weak, too. A lot of name teams. Villanova there to 6th seed. Of course, Iowa, Cincinnati, Tennessee. I don't think there's any dominant team that I would be scared of if I was in this region. That is your South region. Let's go over to the Midwest region. Another ACC team on the top, Mitch. North Carolina, 27-6 on the year. The ACC, 3 number 1 seeds. They'll take on Iona. The winner of that game will face the winner of Utah State and Washington. Washington, your dominant Pac-12 team during the regular season, did not show out in the Pac-12 tournament. Auburn, your SEC conference tournament champion, they will take on New Mexico State in that 5 versus 12 matchup that produces the highest double-digit seed upsets of any of the matchups we'll see. And then number 4 seed Kansas versus Northeastern. Kansas, after a 12-year streak of regular season championships in the Big 12, did not win it for the first time in 12 seasons. this year. Those games, Columbus, Ohio, Salt Lake City, Utah. Let's take a look at the rest of the bracket. The number 2 seed is Kentucky. The Wildcats will take on Abilene Christian. You got to make sure it's one of those names you might often mispronounce. Kick it up to the top. Houston versus Georgia State. Iowa State versus Ohio State getting in. I was surprised Ohio State with 14 losses got in this NCAA tournament, but nevertheless, they are number 11. Iowa State, Mitch, that is a team I am hearing a lot of people kind of whisper now. That could be one that breaks up a bracket big time, so keep an eye out for that one. Wofford will take on Seton Hall in the 7 versus 10 matchup. Winner of that game will take on the winner of Kentucky and Abilene Christian. Mitch, what do you got out of the Midwest region?
Well, I like what you said about Iowa State. They're a streaky team, man. When they're shooting the ball well, they're hard to beat. And when they're shooting well, again, they're going to beat some teams. But I really like Houston. I think when I look at the Midwest region, I think Houston is a really sneaky team to get into the Final Four as a 3 seed. But I look at the Midwest region. I don't really understand how North Carolina got a 1 seed. I don't understand how you don't even make it to your conference championship game and still get a 1 seed. Sure, you beat Duke twice. But you beat Duke without Zion Williamson. And Auburn, another team that's playing really solid basketball down the end of the stretch. Auburn could be one of those teams that makes a run because it doesn't matter what you did early in the few months of the college basketball year. It matters how you're playing right now. Everybody watching, make sure you guys are subscribed. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. We're going to keep this one rolling.
Auburn is a hot team, Mitch. Let's take it over to the West region now. Finish it out. Gonzaga gets the number 1 seed, 30-3 record. They're going to take on the winner of the playing game, Farley versus Prairie View, Syracuse, and Baylor. Kind of sounds like a December 27th bowl matchup. A Syracuse versus Baylor. That's your 8-9 in the West region. Marquette versus Murray State is your 5-12. And then Florida State, who lost to Duke in the ACC championship game, versus Vermont is your 4 versus 13. Let's kick it over to the bottom side of the West region. Michigan is a number 2 seed in the West with Gonzaga. I actually think, surprisingly, or not surprisingly, but I think Michigan maybe has the best number 2 seed. They don't have to take on one of those big-time ACC programs. 3 ACC teams with a number 1 seed. Michigan will take on Montana. Kick up to the top. Texas Tech versus North Kentucky. Texas Tech, co-champions of the Big 12 regular season, gets the number 3 seed. Buffalo versus the 11 play-in winner, Arizona State and St. John's. Then you've got Nevada and the Florida Gators. Big-time game. They played a couple really great games that came down to 3-point shots in the SEC tournament, but nevertheless, they didn't make it even into the championship game. So there is your West region. Mitch, quick analysis. Who you got coming out of the West?
Coming out of the West, James, I'm going to go with the Zags. I've seen the Zags play really solid basketball. I understand they lost by 13 points in their conference championship, but when I saw them take down Duke earlier this year, I was like, man, that's a serious team. Also, a little bit of an under-the-radar matchup. Marquette versus Murray, a good matchup of players that maybe some of you maybe haven't heard of before. Marcus Howard versus, and I know you've heard of this guy, John Morant, an absolutely awesome matchup.
He is the man.
You got to have to watch that matchup. 2 great players. Oh, and 3 ACC teams as number 1 seeds. All I'm saying, maybe a little bit of bias.
Let's take a look, Mitchell Renz, at those number 1 seeds. You've got the Duke Blue Devils, your number 1 overall seed. The number 2 overall seed, the Virginia Cavaliers. They had a really nice year, only 2 regular season losses other than before the ACC tournament.
Yes, sir.
Both of those to Duke. North Carolina Tar Heels, I'm a little bit of a Michigan homer here. Michigan beat North Carolina early in the year by 20 points, so maybe they're hoping they might get in that North Carolina region. And then Gonzaga, who beat Duke, really one of Duke's only loss this year when they were Duke with Zion Williamson. So they are certainly a force to be reckoned with. This one, Duke, your number overall seed, Mitch. Virginia, North Carolina, 3 number 1 seeds out of the ACC. I think some of the pundits and the scribes out there will they're going to be calling for a little bias out there. Hey, the Big 12, Big 10 champion, the SEC champion, no number 1 seeds. I think this one will be talked about for a while. It'll probably be the number 1 storyline of the next 3 or 4 days till Thursday's games that get started. I guess, was it 12 a.m., 12:15 p.m., 11 a.m. Central. But I want to know from you, Mitchell Renz, and you watching here on the Chat Sports YouTube channel, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. Go ahead and subscribe if you like what you see. Who's going to win this thing, Mitch? Who do you have it winning it all? I know there's a lot to take in, and we're going to give us both a pass. We haven't even really dove into the matchups. But as you sit here today, revealing this bracket here on YouTube, who do you have as your national champion?
Well, James, I'll be honest. Last season, I took Virginia to win it all. And I will say this. I think they will go farther this year. I can almost guarantee that. But I'm going to go with Duke. I'm looking at Zion. I'm looking at R.J. Barrett. You could argue the two best players in all of college basketball, plus Coach K's experience in these big-time games. I'm going to go with the Blue Devils. I think they have the second easiest region. They don't play some of those other big-name teams. I'm going to go with Duke. But we want to know from everybody watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, I literally don't care. Anywhere that you see this video, who's going to win the national championship? So, James, I'm going to ask you. Are you going to go homer on me?
No, I'm going to go with Duke. I think with Zion Williamson, they're the team that everyone thought they would be, a team that could potentially win the national title, but also even go undefeated potentially. So I've got Duke, Mitch. That is where we have it. And if you are feeling it on this NCAA tournament, Mitch, we are going to be revealing tomorrow the Chat Sports NCAA tournament bracket. We're going to have free to enter. We're going to have a big cash prize for free. Plus, if you have the perfect bracket, the ever-elusive perfect bracket, you can win huge life-altering cash. So go get started. BetDSI, chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code Live120 to make your first deposit. But for this one, if you don't deposit, you just want to play some March Madness games, we're going to give you a free bet as well. Go ahead and use the promo code 120 to get into our game for free. We'll be talking about that all week, so make sure to subscribe to our channel. Mitch, let's take a look at the last 4 teams who got in this tournament. They are going to be playing, they're going to be playing those 11 matchup games to advance. So we've got Belmont, Temple, Arizona State, and the St. John's Red Storm up there. Is Chris Mullins still their coach? I should know this thing. He is.
I know my cousin goes to St. John's, so shout out to you, Austin. But before we even came on the show, Tom looks over at Dylan and he goes, Dylan, don't even put stuff together for Arizona State because they're not making it in. And then Arizona State makes it in, and we're like, well, that's March Madness, baby. I can't wait. And even though that these are the last 4 teams in, just because the last 4 teams in does not mean they can't win a few games, get it rolling. I mean, heck, we saw just a few years ago, I'm trying to think of the team, they made it all the way to the Sweet 16.
Yep.
But again,
it happens
11
often.
Seeds,
whoever the teams are like complaining about or playing in or out, they always seem to do better than expected. Belmont, Temple, Arizona State, St. John's, also noting UNC Greensboro, Alabama, TCU, Indiana, your last 4 teams that did not get in. But let's take a look one more time at the 2019 March Madness NCAA Tournament bracket. Duke, North Carolina Central versus ND State. VCU, UCF. Mississippi State versus Liberty at the 5-12. Virginia Tech and St. Louis in the 4 versus 13 in the East region, with Duke as the number 1 overall seed. Take a look at the bottom half of the East region. It's LSU at the 3 versus Ivy League tournament champion Yale in Jacksonville, Florida. Maryland versus the 11 play-in game versus Belmont versus Temple. Louisville and Minnesota, the Patino matchup. And then Michigan State gets a 2 seed, Big Ten champions, regular season and tournament. They'll take on Bradley in Des Moines, Iowa. Let's take a look at the South region. The Virginia Cavaliers, last year's number 1 seed that lost in the first round against a 16 seed. They've got a number 1 seed again. Ole Miss versus Oklahoma at your 8-9. Wisconsin versus Oregon at the 5-12, the often upset 5-12. And then Kansas State, Big 12 regular season champions versus UC Irving in the South region. Let's take a look at the other half of that South region. Purdue, Big Ten regular season co-champion versus Old Dominion in the 3-14. Number 6, Villanova, defending national champions, 2 of the last 3 versus number 11 seed St. Mary's. Cincinnati versus Iowa at the 7-10. And then Tennessee versus Colgate in the 2 versus 5. Mitch, take us away for the Midwest region.
Heading over to the Midwest region, we're going to look at the North Carolina Tar Heels going up against Iona. Then we got Utah State going up against Washington, sneaky 8-9 there. Auburn just won the SEC, and they're playing really solid basketball right now against New Mexico State. The Jayhawks up against Northeastern. All I'm saying, if there's one team I want to see go down in the first round, it's the Jayhawks. Let's head on now to the second half of this bracket. We got Houston, the team who I think is going to win the Midwest region, going up against Georgia State, who we just saw win a few hours ago. Iowa State can really shoot the lights out. Ohio State, how the heck did they get in?
14
Wofford,
losses,
Seton Hall, and then Kentucky against Abilene Christian.
Abilene Christian.
Abilene Christian.
I said we got to make sure we pronounce that one right. And
Abilene.
You got it wrong, Mitch.
Abilene, rub some Maybelline on me. Let's go to the West region, Tom. Gonzaga against Fairleigh Dickinson, or the winner of Fairleigh Dickinson or Prairie View. The Cuse going up against Baylor. Marquette, Murray State, a really good, again, matchup that we could potentially see, and this is Jerron Moran against Howard. Florida State Seminoles up against Vermont. I'm taking Vermont in a nice little upset there, James. Spoiler alert. Texas Tech against Northern Kentucky. Dylan is taking Texas Tech to win the West region. I don't know what he knows, but Dylan, what do you know? Buffalo, Arizona State against St. John's. Winner of that matchup, Nevada against the Gators. And then the Wolverines taking on Montana at the 15th seed. The West region, I'm liking it. Liking it.
Want to know from you guys watching on YouTube. Maybe we'll put this on Facebook Live. We'll see who are your final 4 picks. Mitch, we're going to go over ours here in just a moment. Want to know from you guys. And if you haven't subscribed yet, if you're a March Madness fan, if you're just looking for the brackets, you come across this video, we're putting out more sports content than any channel on YouTube. News, videos, live every single day. So make sure to subscribe. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. If you're watching it, just right below, just press the button and you are in. Mitch, let's take a look. You first. Give me your final 4 predictions.
This is my final 4. I'm going with Duke. I like Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Coach K. I'm kind of a Dookie myself. Tennessee Volunteers, number 2 seed. I think they're going to be able to get it in. They played really solid basketball earlier in the year. I'm hoping they can get it back rolling again. The Houston Cougars, when they're playing legit basketball, 31-2, they're one of the best teams in the country, but they are in a really, really tough region. And then Gonzaga. I understand Gonzaga didn't win their conference title, but at the end of the day, Michigan's the next best team in that region. I'm going to go with the Zags because when they're playing well, like we saw earlier in the year, they were able to take down Zion and Duke. And at that point, I was like, I don't know if anybody's going to beat Duke.
2 straight decades of Gonzaga playing high-level top 10 basketball. They deserve to get the number 1 seed, even if they don't win that conference tournament. Mitch, want to give you my final 4. We match on 2 teams. All right, you had Kentucky as well, right? Or am I crazy?
No, you're crazy.
I don't remember what I had. I am crazy.
Dog.
Duke, Virginia. I think I saw them switch inside. That caught my eyes. Duke, Virginia, a little ACC double up there. Then I've got Kentucky and Michigan, a couple number 2 seeds. I've got 2 1s and 2 2s as my final 4. I do have Duke winning it all in this one. Let's go behind the camera. Tom Downey producing Tom Downey's final 4 predictions. Duke, Virginia, Kentucky. So he's copying me 1 for 1. Then you get down there. Guy from Ohio group in Cincinnati going against Michigan. He's got Texas Tech. Tom, who you got winning it all? He's got Duke as well. Flip it over. Dylan Tippett behind the camera on the production. Duke, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Gonzaga taking 3 number 1 seeds in this one is Dylan Tippett. Dylan, who do you got winning it all? Gonzaga. One Final 4 of all time. Also, they're going to start winning championships. We will see. So we've got a couple Dukes at Gonzaga. Mitch, remember who you took again?
I took the Dukies.
You took the
we
Dukies.
got 3 Dukes.
3 Dukies.
3 Dukes and some
Want
Zag.
to know from you guys. Mitch, ask the people. Who will win the national championship?
Who's going to win, guys? And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you are, okay? It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. We got over 90,000 followers. Also, make sure you guys turn on that notification button. It's the one that looks like a bell, so you know exactly when we go live, when we do videos, all the time. First people that get in, guess what? We put you on the shows. Again, that's James Yoder. This is actually Mitchell Renz, even though I don't know if Tom Downey's ever looked so good in his life up on screen. But if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, who will win the national title? I'm going with Duke. He's going with Duke. But we want to know from you because this show isn't about us. It's about all of our watchers. Again, make sure you guys subscribe to youtube.com/chatsportstv.